Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mandla Manzini. I'm from Bobanango. Bobanango is based in under Zululand District Municipality, and I'm leading a rural community and the cooperative as well. Um, Bobanango is situated in a deep rural area, and the size of the community is too small. But there are issues that are faced by the community, of which are the triple challenges: unemployment, inequality, and poverty. As Mr. Jayiya alluded, that most of the rural families or Africans, they are still living under the they are still earning below $1 per day. That means that they cannot afford to get more food security for the household. But what can we do as a rural people? Because we've got the land, we've got resources. So one day while I was doing an internship for the Department of Social Development, and in Mabanango, Mr. Jaiya, you will find that the young people, there are no job opportunities for themselves. So they already gave up on their dreams, and it's very difficult and challenging for them to get some opportunities to to employ themselves. So what I did by that time, I initiated the the cooperative, and I've invited the youth so that they can come forward and work together so that we can create job opportunities for the community and for themselves. But there are these challenges that we are faced as a youth, in particular in Africa. Let me put like that, because this is no longer about us as South Africans, but it's about Africa. It's an issue of funding. Funding has always been an issue to us as the rural communities. You'll find that you have this great idea and the energy, but do you go from having that idea on your disposal? So you approach different stakeholders, but they will take time to to give feedback to you a as you hold that idea, and you've got energy behind it, and it will take some time to for example, for the stakeholders or the departments to respond swiftly so that you can able to realize the goals or the objectives that you've set as individuals. So having the fourth industrialization, it is very difficult for us to cope within the space of fourth industrial revolution, because you will find that technology is very expensive. Yes, we do have cell phones, smartphones on our disposal, which we can use at the advantage. But for example, there are apps that can tell you when to spray, when to harvest. Your vegetables are ready. There are those apps that can able to analyze the soil structure and everything. But now, if you don't have the funding, it becomes more difficult for us as the rural communities and as youth, because um, those apps, you would find the subscription. Those subscriptions require you, maybe it's a free trial for a month, and then after that they'll tell you, please subscribe, and then the monthly premiums are 450 to others they're $200. So can you imagine converting a 200 US dollars into a rand? It becomes more very expensive for us as a local youth to to have access to those useful digital platform. So without any further ado or wasting time, I would like to share a story with you, whereby in Rwanda, it's a Gashora farm in Rwanda, led by a youth there. He started a chili farm, and Rwanda is a very small country, and it's landlocked. There is no sea, there is no river to transport for the distribution of the products, and he struggled to get the market. And when in that process to get to the market, he approached the department, the government, the officials. And I want to share with you, we, we all have duty. We are being appointed by God, whatever position that we occupy. We are appointed by God to make a change in those positions. To earn a salary, it's a bonus. Don't think that if someone knock at the door of your office, please assist swiftly and give some advice. If you cannot assist he or she will understand, because you don't have assistance available at your disposal. But what is important in this case study is that this young fella, he never gave up. He continued to 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 mingle with other farmers in the region, and he managed to get a market in China, and he is exporting tons and tons. But before he exports his product, there are certain protocols that are in place. For example, the government officials, if there is an idea that us as the farmers, that maybe we're getting opportunity to transport or to export our products to China or in Israel, government must assist us with the cost involved, because it took him 3 years. Remember, he's got chilies in his farm. Where does his chilies? He doesn't have a market for 3 years, but he's still struggling. He's still pushing. He's still pushing. And then after 4 years, he got, I think, the clearance to export to China. And then government, they said, "Wow, you've done a wonderful job," but they were not assisting him. So I think in order for us to compete, to use this digital platform for agriculture, we need a buy-in from the government to assist us, because it's very, very costly. And I can tell you, in order for us to feed the nation, to feed the fellow neighboring countries, we need the government to put more investment for these technologies, so that we can, as rural people, rural cooperatives, rural business people or farmers or smallholder farmers, so that we can able to use these technologies, so that we can maximize profits, record keeping, um, and to take the informed decision about it, because it is very important, ladies and gentlemen, in this area, so that we can keep the pace along with the technology and information. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you, Mr. Jayiya.
Thanks a lot for having me, everyone. It's great to be here and to tell you guys a bit more about Nile. As you guys just heard, my name is Eugene Roodt, and I'm a co-founder of Nile. Nile is an online trading platform that connects producers, and today African producers, to commercial buyers of fresh produce. We are a purpose-driven company, and we're looking to make agri-food more accessible to consumers across the African continent and beyond. At Nile, we're building a team of highly skilled people that are passionate about improving Africa's food systems. Our founding team combines managerial experience at world-leading companies, including Amazon, Luno, JP Morgan, where we've got a significant experience in food, e-commerce, software development, and payments. I was previously an investment banker at JP Morgan, where I worked in the London office, largely covering consumer, technology, and retail clients. Louis de Kock, one of my co-founders, he's also a chartered accountant. We met each other when we actually worked for Investec. We were roommates in London. He grew up on a commercial farm, and his previous job before joining Nile was to work for Amazon, one of the obviously biggest e-commerce companies in the world, where he launched Amazon Go's produce division in the US and managed Amazon Fresh's perishable division in the UK. Our other co-founder, Rick Kleinans, and CTO, before joining Nile, he was the software development lead at Luno during their scale-up, where he built technically their technology team and managed the global team of developers. So a very experienced team. And we're really looking to build a very strong team over and above the people that I mentioned here, and we've expanded quite quickly since actually launching the business. We believe that the fresh produce chain is highly fragmented. You've got producers that grow crops spread out over different regions and seasons. As an example, in South Africa, there are more than 1,000 commercial potato growers across 12 growing regions, with supply peaking during different seasons. And these regional differences are further amplified when produce is traded across borders. Given this fragmentation, we see a significant amount of intermediaries within the fresh produce value chain, which results in high transaction costs, given the fact that there are a lot of middlemen taking commissions and margins. Low price transparency, where you've got a lot of farmers sending a significant part of their crop on consignment to the traditional fresh produce market without knowing what price they're going to realize. And then inefficient logistics. You see fresh produce being shipped from the rural areas where they get produced to the urban areas to the traditional fresh produce markets, and then all the way back to these rural areas for consumption, obviously resulting in a significant part of the cost of fresh produce, including a large logistics component. Therefore, at Nile, we think there should be a better way to trade fresh produce. By digitizing the fresh value chain, it would result in a lower cost of fresh produce and at the same time reduce the amount of food waste. The basic premise at Nile is to reduce the amount of intermediaries that sit within the value chain. Different to other platforms, Nile facilitates the entire transaction process, including price determination, payments and credit facilitation, quality verification, and logistics coordination. We want to connect farmers as directly as possible to commercial buyers of fresh produce, and preferably to commercial buyers that sell on to the end consumer. So what are the benefits to a buyer? Nile offers buyers a efficient sourcing channel where they are able to do all their direct procurement on a single dashboard. If you are a buyer in South Africa or any of the neighboring countries, you'll be able to log onto the platform, see live prices, availability, as well as lead times for how long it will take to get the stock directly landed by you from a large range of suppliers that currently already sell their produce on a daily basis through our platform. Secondly, cost savings. The platform drives cost savings through one, direct transactions, therefore taking out the intermediaries that currently today sit in between buyers and sellers in the value chain. And secondly, through logistic optimization, where we make direct transactions possible between buyers and sellers where you have the shortest route to market, or facilitate transactions through our consolidation facility in Johannesburg, where we consolidate loads from multiple suppliers and therefore make it possible for buyers to buy a full basket. Thirdly, quality. We onboard suppliers with a reputation for quality, but we've also partnered with Africa's leading food inspectors to ensure that these standards are maintained within our platform. What are the benefits to producers? Transparent pricing. Through the pricing structure that we maintain in the platform, a seller knows exactly what price he will receive through any transaction that is facilitated through the platform. Improved cash flow. We aim to process payments within 24 to 48 hours, and then lower commission. The digitizing the transaction and the inherent cost savings that comes as a result of that, the cost to a farmer is significantly lower than his other alternatives on the traditional fresh produce markets that exist today. Nile's vision is to build a platform servicing both the formal and informal retail markets across Africa. We are rolling out our business in phases based on the operational complexity of each stage of the business that we are looking to target. As you can see on the left-hand side of the slide, we are currently focused largely on connecting commercial farmers in the SADC region to buyers in the SADC region. And that is where we're currently spending a big chunk of our focus. But we see the rest of Africa, and specifically the large informal markets within the continent, as a big part of our future strategy, given the rapidly expanding urban populations across the African continent, combined with just how receptive people are to technology, which is reflected in the success, as an example, of M-Pesa in Kenya, which we have seen taken off significantly in East Africa. So where are we today? We've traded more than 10 million kilograms of fresh produce between farmers and buyers in every corner of Southern Africa. We've also onboarded leading suppliers across most key product lines, where we offer buyers a full basket where they can source most of their fresh produce directly from these buyers. And we've also opened up our first cross-stocking facility in Johannesburg in the end of last year, where we are able to offer these mixed basket loads. So just to conclude, we are seeing the COVID-19 pandemic playing a significant role in accelerating the shift to online, with people more receptive to technology than ever. This is just evidenced by the adoption and the traction that we've seen on the platform this far, and really believe that Nile is going to play a significant role in improving the African food landscape. Thank you for everyone's time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roodt. I think that was very incisive and informative. And I think it looks very exciting and scary at the same time, because as a municipality, we also own a traditional fresh produce market. And we see that, we are in trouble as well. But I think as well, such is with life. Whatever does not transform, it dies. I think that's what the past 200 years has shown us. You have to be perpetually transforming. And I think as we are looking at the rest of the world, the taste, preferences, and ways of access are changing. And I think companies like Nile are definitely showing us that. And it's very exciting to hear that we have such companies who are taking advantage in real time of these modern opportunities. Having an online trading platform helps you as a farmer just for price transparency, makes price discovery very easy, because supply and demand interacting in real time. And I think cost. And I think low cost transactions and low commission fees. And I'm saying that and I'm like, hey, our commission is gonna go away. But yeah, I think it's a very good opportunity, and I'm sure our participants are listening, are hearing, are seeing where the future is going towards. Because I think as you are busy planning at your farm level, at your food processing level, these platforms are there, and it's important for us to interact with the likes of Nile and see how can you onboard yourself as a supplier into the platform. And I think this platform, as we can see that, I mean, within the first 12 months, it's already bridging SADC and 10 million tons being traded. That's not a small feat. And within 18 months, you see it's a high growth oriented company. But I think as well, it's giving us a wake-up call, especially because we still have a lot of these rigid brick-and-mortar facilities, which are high cost to operate and maintain. And unfortunately, that cost is always passed on to the consumer. And as I said earlier, that, technology becomes this great equalizer because it allows and reduces barriers to entry. And I think at a farm level, you are able to interact with platforms like these before product leaves your farm gate. At least you've got a slight idea as to what the price likely to be. And it brings about a strong level of certainty. And I think we'd like to also invite some questions within this phase, but I've got two which I probably would like to start with. Maybe one, the first one will be directed to Mr. Roodt, and I think it's more trying to understand, maybe according to what you're seeing and being a player in the game, in terms of what opportunities are you seeing for blockchain technology in terms of making sure that the security of information, you can encrypt and protect your information, because I'm sure there's a lot of sensitive information there, and then people have to trade within that. So there's a lot of commercial transactions that takes place there. And also blockchain in terms of enabling logistics and planning into the content, into the continent. So maybe what are your thoughts there? Is that something that is within your purview, or are you already incorporating such technologies in your current operations? Thanks.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the question. I think this is the first thing to just get back to some of the comments you made a bit earlier around the fresh produce markets. I think the first thing to just mention is that we are looking to make it possible for a farmer to sell his produce in the highest potential market. And through the efficiencies that we are also driving, we want to increase the basket. So we're not just trying to take away from the fresh produce markets that are there already today. We really believe there is a purpose for them, and they play a very phenomenal role in our industry and also in the food security. But we are looking to grow the basket and to get people that previously didn't buy fresh produce because they weren't able to afford it to actually buy that fresh produce. So therefore, make the pie bigger. So I think that's the first thing to just comment on some of the statements that you made, and excited about that. Just secondly, on blockchain technology, and obviously that is phenomenal technology, and we are seeing it taking off in big parts across the globe today. I think the two important things to take away from blockchain technology is one, transparency, and two, efficiency. And those are two core, let's say, core features that we are very focused on building into our platform. And currently, we do not make use of Bitcoin, of blockchain today, but it is something that we will always consider and open to explore if it allows us to be able to have more transparency and more efficiency. We believe just through the technology platform and the powerful integrations that we have with various stakeholders, banks, et cetera, we are able to achieve both of these core measures. But currently, we do not have any blockchain technology integrated into our platform as yet, but we'll roll it out. I would consider rolling it out in the future.
Thanks very much, Mr. Roodt. And I think just to confirm, these terminologies, they're so new to us, and at times we misinterpret them or we use them as if we're talking about the same thing. So we're not talking about cryptocurrency at all. We're talking about just the technology that supports such things, so that you don't get worried and think that if you sell at Luno, then they will buy in Bitcoins or any of these new cryptocurrencies. That's another space, and I think it requires people who understand it to talk about it.
Luckily,
I would like to see maybe if we do have some hands in the room, any questions which we might have. Whilst we're waiting for the hands, I will note them as and when they come. Just back to Mr. Manzini, because you spoke about cooperatives in the rural areas. And I think there's a lot of production that takes place in these rural areas. And you hear a lot about barriers to access the market for these produce. It ends up being wasted on the fields, and I think it contributes to the bad food waste which we have in the world. Like your thoughts on how technology can assist these rural communities. And I think your presentation, you spoke a lot about government having to come to the party and assist in such. If you can just give us just the broad suggestions at how can these cooperatives collaborate and how can technology assist in making sure we bring their produce into the market. Thank you.
I think in rural areas, not even rural areas, even here in Durban, I think the best way to assist the local farmers, the cooperatives, maybe is for the government is to set example when you assist cooperatives, because cooperatives, they've got that capability to employ more people, but there are challenges in terms of the formation of the cooperatives, because in most cases people, they get involved in cooperatives because they want to earn cash fast. They want to generate income fast because they are unemployed. Others, they are taking chances. They are not falling in love with the process. In particular, the farming. Farming is very challenging sector, because you plan to plant cabbages, and the hailstorm, the natural disaster, it affects you. If you don't have access to these smart digital platform or apps or information, you because there are apps that you can review the weather patterns for the whole month or for the whole season. So, and understanding the climate change. So now, I think the government need to to distribute information to us, because at some point we were having some discussion, I think the day before yesterday, with farmers, and we were shocked to hear that there are certain companies that are here in South Africa to help us as farmers, but that information is no longer is not available to us as at the grassroots level. People at the provincial level, they stay with this information, and they share this information with friends and their family members, and that information, it's always circulating among themselves, and then us at a local level, at a grassroots level, we are not able to get or to have access to that information. And another thing, in here in KZN, we have these things which are called the taboo, or the way government do things to ensure quality of service delivery to us as the receivers. But now, for the issue of Batupele principles, some government officials, they're not familiar with those principles, because those principles are there to guide the service delivery. But now, government is lacking to ensure, to monitor and evaluate those principles, because access to information is our right as rural people, as rural youth, to have access to information. When you approach certain departments, they ask you, where did you get this? And instead to assist us with information that we require as farmers. So I think having this company, I think it will help a lot. And it is my first time to acquainted with such content and or this company, because I think and I will share with other farmers that, look guys, there is a company that can assist us as rural farmers, as rural producers, so that we can get our product to other countries, because I think that is very, very important. And I'm very happy for the organizers who organize this such platform, so that we can get some new information, fresh ideas, and exchange contacts. And I think government, I think they need to accelerate the way they share information. They must. We have SABC radio stations and district radio stations where they can share this information. I think government has a huge role to play around the. It's not necessary government to buy from us. If government cannot afford to buy our products or our produce, they need to share or to find alternatives. How can they assist rural people? Can you imagine there are gogo abomkhulu who are illiterate, who are not familiar with technologies, with information. So it's very difficult, it's challenging for us as a developing country to keep the pace with the technology and with this fourth industrial revolution. And Mr. Jayiya, you're working for a municipality which is doing very well in terms of assisting local farmers at a local level, because I've seen some articles about your municipality where you try hard to assist some farmers, and I think we need to give you a round of applause with your municipality, because if it wasn't for the eTthekwini municipality, maybe this conference was going to be held in Sandton somewhere or in other parts of the country. So I think it is very important to applaud the city of eTthekwini, where they play a critical role. Yeah. Technology has a power to connect us with the rest of the country or the rest of the continent or the neighboring countries, even in Asia or Israel. I think Nile company is here to assist us, to equip us, and to save us, because can you imagine, we planted 40,000 spinach, and when we approach local stores, the retailers, sometimes there are these regulations that are there. They are no longer taking our produce because we need to comply with certain protocols, for example, the health standard and the quality as well. But if you go through the shelves, a particular spinach, you can see the spinach it's the color of the produce is very poor, and when you compare to your produce, and you find out, what are they talking about if they're saying they are not sure whether your produce is the good quality, and you brought the sample, but we are finding it's difficult to compete, to penetrate at the market, because there are certain red tapes that are there. So I think government, I'm always saying government with government, because government, even I'm sure Mr. Roodt will share with us on how to register, maybe if you've got some produce, so that we can start supplying I think I assumed, Mr. Jayiya, they are operating like a Durban market. Yes. So now I think we as farmers, we're going to benefit from this initiative. And ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
No, thanks very much, Mr. Manzini. I think the big takeaway from this session, ladies and gentlemen, is that the future is digital. It is, definitely. You can see from the kids, which we have these days, how they roam around our phones. They know them better than we do. And I think if you choose to stand on the side of the road, unfortunately, the bus will pass you. And I think it is important. And I think also for you as a trader and markets, I think the biggest takeaway from me from this session is that there are alternatives out there. Acquaint yourself with the alternatives and see which markets are going to work better for you. And I think as much as we do all of these things, we can never undercount the importance of food safety and quality, because that's what the consumer wants. Consumer wants to consume something which they perceive to be safe. And I think it is important for us to comply with all of those requirements. And I think we do see a strong responsibility for government to be able to provide more information, access to information, so that businesses can know where to go to be able to comply and be able to make sure that they penetrate more markets than the ones that they have. And I think I'm seeing a great opportunity as well for informal traders to participate within platforms like these. We're just gonna give the closing remarks from Mr. Roodt, and then we'll be able to close off this session.
Morning, everyone. My name is Mdu. I would be interested to know, Mr. Roodt, when we always talk about producers. I want to come to the end user in terms of using technology. How do we maybe use technology to protect the end user? Especially, you see prices are going up, everything is going up. But utilizing technology, how do we can be able to protect the end user in terms of making sure that technology actually is useful for them to be able to be protected in terms of price hike, etc. All those elements. Thank you.
I'll give an answer and then you can just ask more if there's further clarification. I think the question is around the protection of the end user using technology. I think the important thing here is also back to that point around transparency and also to our purpose around making food more accessible to consumers around the continent. So firstly, around transparency, through being able to transact through our platform in a safe and efficient manner, you know exactly, one, what price you're going to pay for your produce. You secondly also know that you actually will receive the produce that you've actually paid for. And that is the important thing of a digital platform like ourselves, is we create an ecosystem that is safe for both the buyers and the sellers to transact through it in a transparent manner. And then secondly, by digitizing the transaction, we are taking out a lot of the, let's say, fat or the costs that sit within the current value chain today. And those costs can be passed on both to the buyers and sellers, and therefore make cost more affordable to buyers. So through that, we will provide a more safe environment for both buyers and sellers to transact in.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mandla. I'm from here at eTthekwini. I'm a beneficiary of the programs of Mr. Jayiya. But I just want to say something. It's directed to Mr. Jayiya. Is it possible to assist us farmers at eTthekwini to have these systems in order for us to align ourselves with the new technology, to help us to have sort of apps or systems, I don't know how can I call it, that can help us farmers in terms of identifying even diseases that are, how can we deal with the diseases that are currently available now. And also those apps can also assist us in terms of knowing even the chemicals that are registered, because there are certain chemicals registered for certain products. So is it possible for eThekwini to help us in terms of implementing those systems, where if I have a problem in my farm, I just get to the apps and I type what the problem I have, and then the app will give me a solution, rather than for me go out and maybe look for help from Department of Agriculture. And my last question is from my colleague here, how to contact Eugene. He just needs to know can we contact Eugene. Thank you.
My question is to you, Eugene. On your app, you spoke about the logistics. I just need to understand as to, from the producer side and the customer side, who takes care of the logistics? Do the producers have to continue utilizing their existing logistics in terms of the deliveries to the actual buyer? And does the app provide escrow services so that when you make a commitment of producing a specific amount of produce, and the buyer, normally the traditional method would be a person pays, you see the money on the account, then you deliver. But with an online trading platform which removes the traditional trading, can you then provide services where a buyer has paid for the produce? There's confirmation that the payment has been done, but it's being held in an escrow service, like in your platform. And then when you release the goods as the producer, you then, after releasing, then you then get your payment? Or can you just explain the linkages on that front on your app?
So firstly, just how to get access to Nile. So I think the best would be, also sent here in the chat, is all registrations can be done on our website. That is www.nile.ag. Otherwise, you can send us an email at team@nile.ag. I also posted it here in the chat. So I think if the African Agri Council can just give those details through, that would be helpful as well. Then just on the second question, or it's actually two questions, one on logistics and one on escrow services. To start off with logistics, as I mentioned in the presentation, we do coordinate logistics through the platform, but I'll maybe just take you through 3 ways that fresh produce can move from a producer to a buyer within our platform. And all these functions a producer is able to set what he is comfortable with. This platform is built logistics first, and therefore he can determine what he is comfortable to actually do. But to run you through the first 3 options is, firstly, there is the opportunity to do farm gate transactions. So that will be where a buyer can come collect directly at the farm gates of a seller. The second way that fresh produce can be delivered is through direct deliveries. So where a producer makes use of his third-party logistics provider or his own measures of transport, or we can coordinate that transport, where fresh produce is delivered directly from a farmer to a buyer. And then the third way is through our consolidation facilities. We currently have one in Johannesburg, and we'll look to have more in the future, where we do consolidation loads. So where a buyer can come collect, or where we arrange delivery from these facilities, where we build mixed baskets. So as an example, if you've got a cabbage, spinach, apples, pears, etc., all these type of things, all these produce will then come to this facility where a buyer will be able to collect, or we can deliver from. So as I mentioned, the platform is built logistics first, and a seller is able to set up all these different rules within the platform. Your second question around payment or escrow services, all transactions or the cash flow of each transaction does go through our platform. So we make sure every single transaction that is facilitated is safe and secure before a transaction actually goes through. On the one side, for cash transactions, which is the largest portion of our transactions, we receive the funds in advance within our trust account, as you explained rightfully earlier. And as soon as the fresh produce is delivered, and the seller complied with his part of the transaction, the funds are dispersed to the seller immediately. We do also facilitate a portion of credit transactions through the platform. That will be with your typical large corporate clients. Most of them are actually listed corporate clients, where they require credit terms that we also extend through the platform. But all credit transactions are backed up by credit insurance, where we take out this insurance in order to ensure that these transactions are safe. So hopefully that answers your question around how that works. Just maybe, closing off remarks. I think something to say is, why can't we have better price transparency and digitize the trade between the African continent? I feel trading today, or specifically trading of fresh produce, is very regional focused, and I think with the African Free Trade Agreement that is coming into place, it should make trade between the African countries more prominent. And I think the food systems should become more international as a result. And hopefully Nile can play a big role in ensuring that happens.
Thanks. Thanks very much. I think just as a response to Mr. Bondley, I think eThekwini, along with our IT section, there is a platform which the city is currently working on building. We've been talking to some developers of similar facilities, but I think ours, as you rightfully said, would be one that focuses more on providing information to farmers, technical information, more of like an online extension support services. But I think all of that info will be shared in due course. Thank you very much, Menier Roodt, and thank you so much, Babu Manzini. Siyabonga. Thanks. Sure.
Thanks a lot, everyone.